And I have known Morris cars since my childhood. Coming here to the mini factory here today brings a lot of memories. In my school times, I have read the life of William Morris, later on Lord Nuffield. A lot of Pakistanis living here in the UK were driving overland to Pakistan with this car. Hello, I am Imtiaz Rastgar from Pakistan. I live in Islamabad and I grew up in the next door town of Rawalpindi. And I have known Morris cars since my childhood. And coming here to the mini factory here today brings a lot of memories. So I am here today, for me it's a lot of nostalgia to be here. And Andrew here has been very kind to guide us here at the factory. I have taken a tour of the plant today, a very modern plant. And in my childhood, I have, rather in my school times, I have read the life of William Morris, later on Lord Nuffield. And I was also a student of economics, and I could sort of see how he did the processes and how he became the richest man in the world, one of the richest. But the interesting thing is how he developed the business and how he developed the assembly processes and the manufacturing processes. And it was for me a lot of learning when I read about his life, and very motivating for me. And that also led me into the engineering industry myself. And so here we are.
So I'm absolutely right with William Morris. It kind of, he took very much some of the car manufacturing and simplified many of the aspects. Hence the reason why kind of some of the cars became classics.
Yes.
He obviously had a very good cohort, which was Sir Alex Izigonis, a very, very fine gentleman. In terms of kind of conceptual design and everything else. But let's go into the let's go into the museum. Let's talk a bit about the history. I mean, as you quite rightly, Morris kind of motors here for over 100 years. Over 100 years from the almost, so from the first. But even at that stage, it was looking at cost manufacture. And that was very much the real kind of the real milestone, which was the Morris.
Yes, this is the car I've known since my childhood. A lot of Pakistanis living here in the UK were driving overland to Pakistan with this car. And I remember it used to have a big GB written here. That was the car name for the travel. And these families would sit and drive all the way to Pakistan, would have a carrier on top with all their luggage and baggage. And then usually they would leave the car behind. They would get a very good price for the car. There are not many cars in our town at that time. And this car became a standard workhorse in our town. There were thousands of them going around. And the local mechanics could make the parts for these also. The parts used to be much simpler to manufacture, not like the cars of today. They were simpler to manufacture, and that's where the population grew. Then later on comes the Mini. This was my first family car. In 1962, my father bought this car. And then I did not know much about it, but I was the first person in the family. I was the guy who knew how to drive. So I drove it out of the railway station where it had arrived, and then drove it, and then everybody else learned to drive on it also. And the interesting thing about this car is that it brings together a lot of technologies together. So this is the first car where you have a transverse engine instead of an inline engine. So that was the first thing. To make the transverse engine, you needed to do certain other things. This is the first, probably the world's first front drive car.
Certainly mass produced.
Yes, mass produced.
They trialled transversed engines.
Yes.
Quite right. It adds a lot of complexity between
Yes.
the drive shaft and everything else. But I mean, because of the compactness and everything else, there was certain design constraints in terms of had to be shorter than 10 feet.
Yes.
Hence the reason why the radiator was on the side originally, and that transversed engine.
Yes.
Yeah.
That and then if you remember the CV joint,
Yes.
they had to design a special CV joint for this. And your company, engineering company, GKN,
Yes.
has the patents
Correct.
on the transfers and the transmission itself and the CV joints. But interestingly, this car was followed. The very next car which came on the market was a Fiat 125.
Oh, yes, but in transfers. But in terms
Yes.
of revolutionaries, in terms of this plant
Yeah,
and
yeah.
ceramic, the next revolution was the 1100. I don't know if you remember the Austin 1100.
Yeah.
But that was the first one to put hydroelastic suspension, which they wanted to do on Mini, but they did it on that, and that was a super car.
Yeah, so there
Yeah.
was a lot of British engineering, very innovative engineering, which came into this, and I've been through this and several other things. I got to know certain things about British engineering, and then it goes on. And the interesting thing now, since we are on it, let's move on to this side. What is happening now is now we have the new car here, a BMW Mini. It's the same plant which started in 1913, and but right here you see the latest in assembly techniques, latest in manufacturing philosophy. That's all here embedded in these cars. Whatever we think, and a lot of new techniques are all the time here. A lot of people talk about Industry 4.0. I have been to the plant inside, and I can see Industry 4.0 in action here, and what it does for the company, what it does for its cash flow, what it does for its manpower, and the new systems which have come in. Previously, there was a lot of worker fatigue, and now we can see the every car at every station is coming up to a certain level.
Correct.
For the ease of manufacture. Either the car is tilting or the car is coming to a certain height, and all these with sensors and things. So there's a lot of things I've seen inside the plant.
And traditionally car map design is still very much requiring dexterity of a human being, still requires manpower. But one of the key things that we kind of do and you see on the plant is utilising things like cobots. Now cobots take away the fatigue, very much the future. So robots taking away the fatigue, ergonomic, and obviously takes away the fatigue from the operators. So cobots can work alongside a person, and obviously they take a break. And I mean obviously we call it the iFactory. It's a concept of where BMW are going. There's a whole revolution. And part of that whole revolution is not just green, lean, but digital. And we use a lot of artificial intelligence in our management of our production every day.
And all told, how many models are we taking off from this?
So we make 3 models here.
3 models?
Yeah, which is...
But the variants?
Then there's variants in it, because you've got the 3-door and you've got the variants of the electric and the petrol.
Yes.
But then obviously you've got the transmission variances.
But the variants don't stop there. The variants are in colors, in logos, in the wheels, in the inside in the steering wheel, and many other things. So there are probably, if I don't say 1,000 combinations, there are hundreds of combinations, and each car is coming out unique. And the interesting thing is that each car is followed by another car with a different color, with a different configuration, and it's a feat of sequencing the supply chain where they have achieved all this. So
it's a classic step from
here's
the
the
Toyota
logo of the Mini up here, and then the interesting thing I have seen here is the electric Mini. So this is their first test vehicle, and there's another one here.
So this was the concept.
Yeah, this was the concept vehicle, but now they're all rolling off the assembly line.
That was the concept of the electrification of Mini.
Yes.
And obviously that's the first production Mini.
So this is a picture of the plant as the car rolls off from the assembly line.
As you quite rightly said, no car behind each other are identical.
Yes.
Everyone is unique because everything is based upon a single customer order. It's the ultimate of lean,
Yes.
in terms of supply chain, but also making sure that you're just building to that customer order in the sequence of the customer.
Excellent. Yes. So let's walk back and. So here is the logo of the Mini again.
Yeah. Classic Morris now. Also, I'm sure you know this, but this plant here
Yeah.
used to produce chassis for all car manufacturers in the UK, including Wolseley, companies like MG, which is also part of the thing. So we used to have a board that showed all the different logos of car manufacturers in the UK. So any car manufacturer you could think of in the 50s,
Yes,
UK
you
based,
guys are
would
contract
have
manufacturers
We've
for-
had all the steel parts will be made here. Yeah.
Wonderful. So thank you very much.
Yes. Nice to see you. Hope to see
Thank
you again.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're welcome to Pakistan.
Yeah, that'd be very nice. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah.